Harrisburg Stampede, Justin Coble with
I gotta change the freaking.
Oh, there it is.
Basically, they were
It's
playing
Major
Major League with the real game. Yeah.
Oh shit, there's the Hattie.
This is episode 81 of the Not Other Sports Podcast. My name is Jason.
I'm David.
And this is the home of sports talk for the average Joe. So before we get going this week,
Happy New Year!
an announcement has to be made. I am the 2024 EPAD League champion.
Finally.
You're either muted or I can't hear you clapping, but I can definitely see you clapping.
Well, I didn't want to clap too loud because I know if I did that, I'll bust your eardrums.
I'm okay with that. This is after numerous seasons of finishing in second place. I finished in first. It was a score
Finally.
of 131.4 to 99.98.
Finally. He's brought it home. Finally.
I brought it home. I finished the season with a regular season record of 12-3.
Good record.
I was a little under my projected score. I was supposed to finish at 132. I finished at 131. Not that anyone cares, but my top scorer was Jerome Ford. Christian McCaffrey seriously underperformed because he's now out. He got injured during the game. That's fine. I got him for...
No, it's not fine.
Well, it's not fine for you, but it's fine for me because he got me to the promised land. Him and Big Cock Brock Purdy, who I ended up picking up late in the season when Herbert went down with his broken finger. So
Well, hopefully, you didn't have been for the game against the Ravens.
I did have him for the game against the Ravens, but it's okay because everyone else powered me through. I mean, I had a great team this season. I can't complain.
Did you have Stafford?
But yes.
Because you always have Stafford.
Well, what's funny is
You
going
always
into
have him. Every season you have him.
Well, what's funny is going into the final week, Brock Purdy was questionable. And with Herbert on the IR, I didn't have a quarterback. So I'm like, I need to at least get someone who's going to at least get me X amount of points. I was looking for like 18 points and above. And Stafford was the only one available. He was floating out there for 20 points, but I had him on my team for the last week of the season, and he sat on the bench because Purdy was healthy. But I just didn't want to risk Purdy not being healthy, and then I'm stuck. Yeah. I don't got anyone. Like I was leaving nothing to chance with the championship game. But yes, I did have Stafford on my team for the final week of the season, and it did strike me as pretty apropos that here I didn't have him all season, and then the final week I needed someone, and there he was.
That's just, but yeah, you're right, because you always have him every year on your team, and this year almost you didn't have him. Almost.
I didn't, no, until that final week.
Exactly. That almost turned into now.
And he put up a heck of a game, actually. I think he might have had 20 points in our league. So I would have been fine if he was at quarterback for the game and Purdy was out. But Brock Purdy kind of sealed it for me. My team was very good. I got to go into the office this week, so I might talk a little trash on Tuesday. On Tuesday when the person that I beat is in the office.
You have to. It's a given at that point.
I've contemplated getting a championship ring because they sell fantasy football championship rings.
Yes, I did see that.
And they're affordable. Like it's nothing that would break my bank account.
And they look nice.
They look a little gaudy, but I
said nice. I didn't say great. I said nice. I didn't say great. I said nice.
But yeah. So that's where we are.
Just get a beer can tab, stretch it out, and there you go.
Well, let's speaking of football, if you can tell by my background, and you probably can't because my big head is cutting off the logo, we're going to be talking about the United Football League, the merger between the XFL and the USFL. Um, I have some thoughts, and I'm just going to go right into it here, David. There was a UFL back in 2009.
Yes, I did see that because I was thinking to myself, UFL. I should just be able to look it up and oh look, there'd be a Wikipedia on it. It's like, wait a minute, no, that's not the right one. Oh, you know,
So the original UFL began in 2009. They aired on Access TV. Well, it was HDNet then, but Access TV now. Um, and they didn't last super long, like most of these. Do we want to say? I don't want to say minor league football leagues, but it was a minor league football league. They decided to play in the fall on a schedule of Friday nights and Saturday nights, which was a big mistake. But it didn't last. I think it didn't. I think it made it to what, 2013,
12,
2014,
12. Inaugural,
2012.
inaugural season '09, ceased 2012.
Ain't that a shame? Um, so the teams that are going to be remaining for this new UFL are the Arlington Renegades, the Birmingham Stallions, the DC Defenders, the Houston Roughnecks, the Memphis Showboats, the Michigan Panthers, the San Antonio Brahmas, and the St. Louis Battlehawks.
I am glad they I am glad they brought the Battlehawks in.
I'm glad they brought the Battlehawks in. St. Louis is a city that loves its football, and they kind of got
Exactly.
hosed by prior ownership of the NFL team. Um,
Because I do
I'm glad
remember
the Defenders
watching
have made it.
I do remember watching the St. Louis Battlehawk game where it was a fantastic game to watch to begin with, but the stands were just packed like it would be an NFL game. It was just nuts, which was great to see. And like you said, St. Louis gotten hosed over in the past, just as a sports franchise in general. But
Well, let me ask you this: how do you feel about
tired.
Pittsburgh and Philadelphia not making the cut? Because Philadelphia, going back to the original USFL, was a stronghold franchise for the league. The XFL has never had a Pennsylvania team in it. Um,
I'm kind of shocked because of, like you said, the the Philadelphia team was a strong team. It wasn't like a team that was that barely made the playoffs or anything else. It was a team that actually made, it actually made something.
right.
And well, both Pennsylvania teams made it to the finals 22 and 23, but both losing, but still made it to that far. Still made it that far.
Right, right.
So you would think that they would put in those teams that that at least made it to the finals. I'm just curious on what
And
the voting. I'm just curious on what the voting process would be. Now, also they could say, well, Pennsylvania already has the Steelers. They already have the Eagles for those
but this is
respective football
spring.
cities. Still, they could say that with spring, but
Well,
this, it's just one of those
I
things.
look
It's
at
just
it.
it's a double edged sword for where they're from. Yeah, it is a spring. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. You would think Philadelphia could have football all year round. Pittsburgh could have football all year round. But are they going to play at Heinz? Are they going to play at Lincoln? Where are they going
I
to play then
believe
at
weren't
that
they
point?
playing at Franklin Field? No, they were they or were the Stars play? No, they weren't playing any games in Philadelphia actually the past two
No, they
seasons
weren't.
because they
They've
were in
been
host cities.
Yeah.
But
So
now
where would they actually, if they would have been to the actual their home field, what would their home field be?
I mean, just speaking hypothetically here, they could easily go over to Chester and play where the Union play. A lot of the XFL teams were playing in soccer stadiums, and it looked visually great on camera because the stands were filled. I'd much rather see 10,000 fans in a soccer stadium watching UFL football than 10,000 fans in a 50,000 seat stadium watching UFL football. It's a vastly different visual experience. Um,
No, absolutely.
Plus, you have all that. Plus, another reason why it sells well on television is 10,000 people in a condensed stadium. That's a lot of energy being put out there, whereas 10,000 in a big stadium, it's almost cavernous and you lose that energy. That's neither here nor there. I just thought it was really weird because the Stars, going back to the original USFL, they were in every championship game in the original USFL. They were competitive in the current USFL. It just struck me odd. And there's a little Pennsylvania pride coming in there as well as to why neither Pennsylvania team made it. DC.
I mean, I'm not one to say like, oh, actually, you know what? They would have been playing, I guess, at Ford Field. Or no, those are the
Ford Field is Michigan.
No, yeah, those are the host ones. Sorry, I misread that. But yeah, no. Either way, I just feel like there should have been at least one Pennsylvania team, at least one. But
yeah, I feel
again,
like
you said Pennsylvania pride could be coming in, but then again,
but there's three Texas teams. I can't. I mean, move Houston to the division the Brahmas are in. Plop in the Stars or the Maulers, and
one of the two. Just pick one at that point. I mean,
I don't. It's just. I mean, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth because one league has always had Pennsylvania teams, and one league has never had Pennsylvania teams, and we're going to start off with no Pennsylvania teams.
And
the closest one to us,
teams.
Right? The closest one to us is the Defenders. The Defenders have been stalwarts of every version. Well, every version since the original relaunch of the XFL going back to 2020. And I guess that would be the team I would have to cheer for because it's just proximity.
Closest, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the whole, the merger, the new name?
I mean, from what I've actually read and saw on, because I know they had the announcement on, I think it was right before the 1:00 games on Sunday.
Correct.
Which was kind of just why, I figured this would be a perfect topic for tonight. How that possibly, I'm now, correct me if I'm wrong, I might have misheard, I don't know, but there might be a possibility that this could turn into a minor league for the NFL.
Well, that's what it should be.
Should be and going to be, as we all know, are way two different things.
Right.
And I think, like I said, if I heard them right, they said this basically league is for that extra player that was good enough to maybe make the team, but didn't quite cut it to make the NFL team. And they would go down to here. And that's what
this should be. It should be.
Again, it should be, but
a developmental minor league feeder system.
And that would be perfect for the NFL.
Because we always talk about how this is something me and you have talked about 20 years now. They're the only professional sports league without a developmental system. And some guys they don't make it from college right to the NFL.
I mean, some guys are good enough for the NFL, but don't have that little extra oomph.
And college should not be the feeder system anyway.
No, it shouldn't. College should just be, like any other sport out there looking for prospects. That's all really college sports are, is just looking for prospects, not looking for, feeding into the NFL as as that. It should be,
Right.
well, look at hockey. How many times is a player drafted and don't even see the NHL right off the bat? They sit down in the AHL, ECHL, and go up.
Another example, I mean, you have all these amazing college basketball players who play at a very high level in packed arenas on national television. Some of them, when they get signed, they don't go to the NBA. They go to the NBA's developmental league and they play in smaller arenas with no national coverage. It's about
Yeah.
gaining experience. It's about gaining maturity. It's about growing as an athlete.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Because
that's
absolutely.
and that's why some people don't make it, and that's why some people do make it. And I think it's something that the NFL will benefit from.
I agree 100%. It's just one of those things to where you wish it would have came sooner rather than having two spring leagues all of a sudden merge together.
Well, in the last 10 years, we've had 3 different spring leagues. We've had the Alliance of American Football, which didn't even last a full season. I think they made it 4 weeks, maybe. You might have to fact check that, but they didn't make a full season.
What is it again? I'll look it up right now. What's up?
It was the AAF, Alliance of American Football. You had the XFL 2.0, then you had COVID, you had the USFL startup, then you had the XFL startup, and now you had the merger with the XFL USFL becoming the UFL.
Let's see here. Inaugural
One
season.
of these got to stick, is what I'm saying. One of these have to stick.
Just throw something at the wall and hope for the best, I guess. According to Wikipedia, they went bankrupt in April of 19.
Right, but they ended mid-season. How many weeks did they make it is what I'm asking.
I'm trying to see when they actually started their first game. Because it was originally founded in March of 18. But the inaugural season was 19. And I'm trying to see when they actually announced like the first official game. Okay, February 9th of 19 was the inaugural.
So they played from February 9th until March 31st.
2 months? Because April 17th is when they ceased.
They made it 8 weeks. So I was off by 4. Yeah, well.
50-50 shot. Yeah, so yeah, April 17th of 19 is when they went bankrupt. Is when they, well, I should say when they ceased.
So and here's a fun little side note about the AAF and the XFL reboot from 2020. Both of those came about because of the 30 for 30 about the XFL.
I was going to say because Troy Polamalu played in that.
Troy did not play in it. Troy was part of the front office for the AAF. Dick Ebersol and his son were the brains behind.
He was the manager. Sorry, I saw lists. I thought he was a player.
No. So Dick Ebersol was behind the AAF. He was partners with Vince McMahon in the XFL back when Dick Ebersol was involved of NBC Sports back in the 2000s. Actually, back like the 80s to the 2000s, but specifically the 2000s for the XFL. But they both went in separate directions, and Ebersol did the AAF. Vinnie Mac did the XFL 2.0. And now we're here with the UFL, which is going to be on, what did I see? ABC, Fox, FS1, and ESPN. You
March
can't,
30th.
I mean, that's probably the best coverage you'll have for any sports league.
That point.
I think, personally, this is going to be the best shot any spring league has at actually making it. I think the merger was smart. Even though I don't agree with it. Well, I think there's a good chance.
I mean, like you said, there's been how many spring leagues over the past few years? Something's got to stick. of all these
All,
going, something has to
altogether,
stick.
4. There's one for every year my son has been alive, and
I
he was
mean,
born in 2019, so it's kind of funny. Um, but I think the merger's smart. It's going to be interesting to see how the USFL teams sell tickets because they were playing in host cities. And it was not doing well in the host cities.
no, by far it was not. By far it was
There
not.
were definitely some games with maybe 3 people in the audience.
Yeah,
Whereas the XFL games were pretty well attended
they
for all
were.
things considered.
They
I
were
mean,
pretty
not
well
every
attended,
game
yeah.
was a sellout, but it
No,
still
but
looked
there were.
good.
I mean, the only team that really looked great when you looked at the crowd was, of course, St. Louis. But like we said, St. Louis is a big football sports city.
Right.
I mean, I'm just hoping this actually sticks and becomes like a minor league for the NFL, just because it's needed.
So
That's
Vegas overall had the least amount of attendance. But the Vegas team for last season of the XFL were playing in a converted minor league baseball stadium. But it looks like average attendance was probably around 20,000 combined for the league every game. That's not bad.
no.
Um, St. Louis sold the most. Um, yeah, I wasn't too far off. Average attendance was 14,705.
I wonder if they're going to try, or I won't not try, but I wonder if they're going to keep the USFL logos or try to revamp them XFL style,
As of now, they're keeping them.
which I would be cool with in general because they look good anyways.
Right. I think it was a smart move for the showboats to get away from the silver and red of the 80s showboats because the USFL had a lot of teams in red and
Yeah.
silver or red and gold or red and yellow. um,
Yeah.
so I think switching it up was a smart idea. Um, I still think the best logo out of all of them is probably the Houston Roughnecks because it ties into Houston's history in the oil fields and the oil business. And
Absolutely.
it's a bit of a nod to the old Houston Oilers. Which sidebar? How savage was it when the Houston Texans played the Tennessee Titans and the Titans wore their Houston Oilers throwbacks against them? I thought that was genius. I loved that. That was a great little touch of uniform smartassery, if you will.
Oh,
I loved everything about it. I'm sure we're running a bit long on this topic. I'm
eh,
I'm I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. I'm not going to lie. I've had nothing but high hopes for either of these leagues because I do think spring football can work. It just is how it's sold and if people will accept it. I think we've seen that the USFL version of selling spring football did not do too well, whereas the XFL version of selling spring football did pretty well. Um, you take
well,
the best of both worlds, and maybe it'll do really good this year.
well, the thing
Um,
is, though, did it do well on its own, or did it do well because who's in charge?
you mean The Rock? Did it do
Yeah,
well because of The Rock? I don't
because
think people are going to a St. Louis Battlehawks game
well, not
because of The
well,
Rock.
well, not St. Louis, but I'm just saying though,
I
like,
mean, I smell what you're cooking, but
oh, Slappy. Jeez. Yeah, yeah. Jason doing the eyebrow there. Good Lord. Yeah, so March 30th.
I've broken you. Sorry.
No, you didn't break me. I'm just like trying to just shake my
I'm
head of
trying to
wow.
recover.
There is
I,
no
I
recovering.
staggered you on that one.
There is no recovering from us. There is none. We're just a giant train wreck.
We're like Ray Mancini, and the audience is Dooku Kim. That's really dark. Okay. I think on that note, March 31st is when
March
the
March
UFL
30th
starts.
Yeah, it said March 30th on.
March 30th. Sorry, March.
So yeah, March 30th on is when it's looking to start. So let's see how this turns out. Let's see if finally something sticks to the wall and of spring football. So here we are. That's the end of. Unless you got anything else, Jason.
Nope. I've alienated half the audience already. I'm done.
All right. So on that note, that is the end of the first. We'll be right back.